Hey, Disney Cruisers, and welcome back to the DCL community where we are here to help you plan, prepare for, and get excited for your Disney cruise. You guys know me. I'm Rebecca, your host and admin of the DCL community. And today we are so excited to be doing a deep dive into one of Disney's, I would say, more popular, it seems like, ports. It's continuing to grow. There's a lot of interest for travel out of Europe. So we're going to be talking all things Southampton. So as you're coming in, please say hello. Let us know where you're joining from. And if you've sailed from Southampton before, if you have one booked. And as people are coming in, Stacey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Stacey Johnston, and I'm from Marvelous Mouse Travels, and we are an earmarked Disney authorized Disney planner, and I have sailed so many different times with Disney Cruise Line, and we have done everything from Alaska to Europe multiple times. Of course, we've been on all of the cruise ships to date, and so. And one thing that we have found is our family always loves returning to Europe. And so that's one of those things that I have found that I really enjoy booking just because we absolutely love Europe. I've been all over Europe. It's just an amazing time for your kids to experience things that they read about in textbooks that you wouldn't otherwise see. In fact, Nick, right now, my youngest, he's 11, he is studying ancient history, and they are going to be studying Rome and the Roman Empire. And I told Nick, I'm like, you can, talk about being inside the Colosseum and what that's like. And she was so thrilled. So she's having him bring in photos of, his day in Rome. So
Oh, that's
just so fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, like a real life show and tell. And we have some folks watching from the UK who have sailed from Southampton, from New York, from California. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining
Hello.
us. So we're going to be doing from East England. Love it. Hello, friends from Scotland. Love it. Okay, so we are going to be doing a deep dive into all things Southampton. As we're going through this, you're going to see Stacey knows so much, not just about this port, but about everywhere that Disney sails from. If you are ready to plan your Disney cruise, reach out to Stacey. She is here to help. Her planning services are 100% free for you to use. So let her be that resource in your planning so that you can just worry about enjoying your cruise. If you have any questions, some friends from Tampa watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. We're going to do our best to get to those. But that's a link to Stacey's page on the DCL community site. You can reach out to her and she is here to help. But let's go ahead and dive into all things Southampton.
Exactly. Sounds great. So this was one that we weren't sure we were going to actually end up doing. We had looked at another cruise, and then we decided, let's go ahead and do kind of the best of both worlds. We love Barcelona. We had been to Barcelona a couple of times as a family. We just love the culture there, the food, the paella, and it's so amazing. The food is just delicious. And Barcelona is like the coolest city. So if you guys ever want to know more about Barcelona, I'm happy to chat about that as well too. But what we liked about this one was it was one way. So you start from Barcelona, you go up the coast of Spain, and we were going to a country we had never been before, which was kind of one of the things we like to do each summer is go someplace new. And so for us, Portugal was a bucket list. We had never been there. I'd heard amazing things about it, but for me, it was hard to, support my clients if I have never been there. So I thought this meets kind of lots of criteria. And the fact that it ended in Southampton, and then we were going to add some time in London. I had been to London before, but my kids had never been. They always hear about it. My son says he was going to live in London, although he had never been there. So I
I
thought,
love
what,
that.
let's take everyone to London. So they have the same itinerary in 2025 coming up. So we can talk a little bit more about it. But here's a picture of Barcelona. I just love Barcelona. It's the this is the Gaudi from Park Güell. So you go to the top of the city, and the park is at the top of the city, and you see the mosaic tiles everywhere. Gaudi is the famous Catalonia architect from that period of time. And a lot of the architecture is very whimsical, very colorful, and that's kind of his trademark of his architecture style. And then he also did the architecture and design for La Sagrada Familia, the famous cathedral there, which is just absolutely amazing. It's like walking into a rainbow. It's so beautiful. So I highly recommend if you haven't been to Barcelona before, let's get you there. And this one is kind of a fun cruise because it checks off lots of boxes, including ends in Southampton, which then, we get some time in London afterwards.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I could not agree more. Barcelona is magical. And if you think this picture looks beautiful, just wait till you see it in person. It is so, so, so worth a visit. And someone's asking, how are the seas on this sailing?
How are the seas? They were great. We did not have, my son is a little bit more prone to seasickness. He didn't take any meclizine or any of the Dramamine, so he was totally fine on it. It's actually pretty cool. So you go through the Straits of Gibraltar, um, which is right where Africa and Spain are like just a few miles apart. You can see both.
Oh,
And so
wow.
when you're standing in one location, you can see Africa on one side and, Europe on another. But we woke up in the morning and I heard a foghorn, like, when we take off in the musical magic of, Disney's sounding system, when it plays When You Wish Upon a Star. Well, that's their foghorn. But I woke up and I heard the foghorn, and so I opened up the curtain to our balcony, and we sat outside. You couldn't even see 2 feet in front of you, and so it was the strangest thing, but it was
Wow.
so, like, m magical, and so people were up and just on the decks because it was like nothing we've ever seen before. So that was right before we were heading into the Straits of Gibraltar, but luckily it magically cleared so we could actually see the Rock of Gibraltar, which was really cool. So that was really special. So the seas were fine. We did not have any rough seas. And then and when here's our picture of us in Portugal, and we were in a tuk-tuk. So tuk-tuk is like their little versions of taxis that take you around, and they do tours, or you can, do a walking tour. And we were taking a scavenger hunt, and so the tuk-tuk took us to the start of the scavenger hunt, and that was a lot of fun too.
So fun. I love that. And someone else is asking, oh shoot, where did the question go? Someone else is asking, how many days beforehand did you fly in? And I'm assuming this person is from the US.
Yeah, so I always recommend, so I actually have several clients that are eh, American, Canadian. I actually have clients that I'm supporting from Indonesia and Europe, so from kind of around the world. So I can book all countries, so that's good. And what I tell my US Canadian clients is let's get you there 2 nights ahead of time. So typically you'll leave, let's say your cruise is on Saturday, you want to spend the night in a hotel Friday and Thursday night. Still, you'll actually leave Wednesday night and then do the red eye and then arrive Thursday morning. And then we'll get you a hotel for that Thursday and Friday night. Some clients say, I can't take off that much time after work, so it is okay to do just one night. I highly recommend 2 nights. We always do 2 nights because it helps with your time zone acclimation and, helps with jet lag so that you're fully refreshed and acclimated to the new time zone when you're on a cruise. Although I do have to tell you, this one was interesting. So Barcelona and England are in 2 different time zones, or Barcelona and London. And so you head into Portugal, you're in London time zone. So you start in Spanish time zone, then you go into a London time zone, then you go back to a Spanish time zone, then you go back to the London time zone. So
Wow.
it was definitely setting my clocks was interesting, but it was
Yes.
fun. It was kind of neat. Like it was great to experience that.
That's awesome. I love that. And this is such a fun, unique itinerary. And I know Disney goes to some amazing places around the world and especially in Europe. But this is just such a great um, ki- kind of variety of countries, such a great amount of experiences that if you are thinking, I know we're just getting through summer, schools are going back in the States, but if you're thinking about summer travel for next year, this one would definitely be on at least my list personally. This sounds awesome.
It is. And then when you go here, if you want to just when in the last spot in La Coruna, um, you can actually take a bus, and we went to Santiago, so the Cathedral Santiago. If you've ever heard about people doing those missions or the walks to Santiago, there's like this
Oh,
the,
yes.
lots of people do that where they hike to Santiago. And actually, there is a mini hike version. And so one of the excursions is a mini hike to Santiago. So they'll drop you off and you hike up there. I wanted to sign up. My kids voted me down. So we did not
Oh,
do the hike to Santiago. We took the bus to Santiago. And so,
oh,
but it was so cool. So I definitely, if anyone is into, religious history, definitely add that to your port stop because that was actually very cool. Santiago is a very cool city.
yes. Oh, I love that. And if you are curious about good excursions with kids, especially, we just did one on Alaska, and Stacy had some awesome recommendations for excursions that were, kind of for all interest levels, including some that had Disney characters make appearances. So go back to the DCL community YouTube page and check that one out because I didn't even know those existed. So this is awesome. You've got the plug-in to the cool excursions, let me tell you.
Yeah, we always go all out for the excursion. So for next summer, the way so it's this summer was the Dream. Last summer we were also on the Dream, and next summer is on the Fantasy. And so if you think about it, the ship is in kind of May to July. It's going to be out of Barcelona and your Mediterranean, your Greek Isles. So going to be out of Barcelona and Rome, Civitavecchia, and really hitting the Mediterranean, the Greek Isles, Italy, and your typical kind of 7-night Mediterranean cruise. And then it starts to head up the coast, kind of the mid July. That's the cruise that we took. So it's a one-way cruise, that repositioning. And then these are the cruises that are strictly out of Southampton, and they're from the second half of July to October. And then there's the repositioning. It heads back down the coast to Barcelona, and then it will do the repositioning from Barcelona. But what's nice is there's a variety. You've got your 3-night cruise, all the way up to an 8-night cruise. This summer, they ended up doing, I think, a 12-night cruise. So each summer is a little bit different in their itineraries. The Norwegian cruise this summer is for 2024 was 7 nights. And so for next summer, they're making it 8 nights. And so I also like the 3-night cruises. So those that are, you can do a back to back. So if you want to make it a little bit longer, cruise. And so, or, if you are local and you're like, hey, I just want to do a little 3-night cruise, we can help you get hooked up with those as well too. So they have a variety of itineraries and I can help you choose which one is right for you. The British Isles cruise we'll talk a little bit more about in depth, but the Norwegian Fjords cruise is amazing. So we did Northern Europe last summer and it was Norway. It was absolutely beautiful. And just the people are so nice. And we just go into these cool little like fishing towns. And it's feels a little bit like an Alaskan cruise. So if you like an Alaskan cruise and you want to experience Europe, this is something that I maybe would recommend. If you've already done Alaska cruise before, you're like, I loved it, but do I need to do it again? Let's get you on a Norwegian fjord cruise. And it's absolutely beautiful.
I was going to say the pictures that I've seen just look breathtaking. And Alex is asking which one of these cruises has Pirate Night, which one has Frozen Night?
Okay, so great question. So your Mediterranean is going to be more of that pirate night, and then your more northern cruises tend to be the frozen night. Now, of course, Disney can change their mind anytime they want, but 2 years ago we had a frozen night. Last year we had this past summer we had a pirate night.
And then speaking of frozen and temperatures, how are the temperatures this time of year? How are the temperatures for your sailing and how were they for the summer before?
Yeah, so I think what was it 3 summers before we were in Mediterranean. It was pretty hot. I will say, kind of midsummer, that Mediterranean. It was in Rome. It was warm. I mean, it wasn't like 90s, but it was warmer than I was expecting. And then for the Northern Europe, we dressed for a lot like the way you would dress for Alaska, which is jeans and a t-shirt and then make layers. So jeans, t-shirt, sweatshirt, and then a raincoat. So like be prepared, Northern Europe, it's going to rain almost every day. And so, but we totally lucked out. We had amazing weather. It, it was, kind of 70s to mid 80s. It wasn't too hot, and it only rained actually one day in London. So we really lucked out when with our weather. So we didn't have a lot of significant bad weather. It was actually beautiful, beautiful weather. It was kind of pleasant. It was, that
Yeah.
it wasn't quite sweater weather. We were in t-shirts, but it was, like kind of nicer, dressier t-shirts.
Yes, you're comfortable. You're not hot, you're not cold. You're like baby bear. You're just right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love it. And the 3 and 4 night during UK school holidays are very busy. We had a fab time, but felt it was a little different to 4 nights on a US sailing. That's a good point. Is there any difference between activities that you're going to get on these cruises from Southampton compared to
Um,
a US sailing?
Yeah, so it's gonna be on so for us with the Dream, it's you have your three shows for all sailings. And then what happens is with the, the four or the five or six or seven, 8 nights, they add in another activity, for their main event each night. So we had a ventriloquist who we had seen before, and we had a magician. It was the funniest thing because we have a picture of my son 2 years ago with the magician, and then this past summer with the magician, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, he's grown so much." He said, "Let's do
Yeah.
it again, same time, same place." So,
Oh,
so
I love
we
that.
actually, yeah, we actually knew. I mean, they remembered us because of us talking to them after the show, and so, and then they will do like a special movie showing, um, or something else to kind of fill your time. So the longer your cruise, you're going to have like different variety acts is what they call them. But the your three, kind of the three main shows are going to be featured. So on your 3 night, that's what you're going to be doing each evening. And then of course they have the bingo, they have match your mate, they have the kids activities. So
Yes.
so my son is in the Edge, and he loves it. And so he did all of the heroes and villains, and all of the cool stuff.
Yes, definitely plenty to do. The longer the cruise, the more variety, and I feel like it just kind of spreads it out. But if 3 and 4 nights work for your schedule, there's definitely options for you.
Right.
Oh,
So this is what I'm so excited to talk about. This was my first Adventures by Disney, and so I
ooh,
had always wanted to try it, but I thought the price point was a little high, so I thought this is going to be like my sampler. And um, Adventures by Disney has what they call escapes, and escapes are made for cruises. So they're usually 2 or 3 nights right before a cruise or right after a cruise. And in this case, it was right after the cruise because of arriving into London. And so so this was 2 nights, 3 days, Adventure by Disney. I think the Rome one is 3 nights, 4 days. There's one in Barcelona. And so these escapes are a great way for you to extend your vacation, have that Adventures by Disney experience, but not have that full Adventures by Disney price point. And so so I thought this is great. Let's go ahead and try it. And I will tell you, my it was worth every penny we spent. And the reason being is when you add up everything you did and where we stayed. So we stayed at the Waldorf Astoria, so right there in West End. And when you add up the private viewing of the Crown Jewels, a private tour by a beefeater with a meet and greet, private tour of St. Paul's Cathedral, and with access to the top layers, you could climb the stairs all the way to the top. A high-speed boat ride on the Thames, like total James Bond style. I mean, we're going really fast, and
that's awesome.
high tea at the Waldorf, dinner each night at clubs. But they have, obviously you all are Disney fans because we're all on this together. So it's like a tour but with the Disney difference, meaning that so it could have just been dinner at a pub. That first night you're getting to know everyone, and everyone tends to be sitting with their own families, because that's how it is. It's human nature. And by, night two, we're all like spread out and we get to know each, we've already met each other. But that first night, as an icebreaker, they had Sherlock Holmes come in, and it was basically like an escape room. And
Ooh,
so we had to solve clues, and then he picked Nick to be his Watson. And so
that's so cool.
yeah, so Nick was his Watson, and Nick had to go find the clues, and it was so awesome. And like I said, by the time you pay, and they do your transfers from the cruise ship to your hotel, and then from your hotel to the airport, all of that is included. Tips are 100% included. So we didn't have to tip our driver, we didn't have to tip our anyone at the hotel. We didn't have to tip any of the people on the boats. It was like tips are
Oh,
included, all the meals are included, including, 2 drinks per night. And so literally by the time you add all of this up, it essentially is the same price as paying for Disney, but you get that Disney experience, that, that something you're going to remember. Each day you get a different pin, from pin trading, those types of pins that um, it's a collector's pin that represents what we were doing that day. And then your
ooh,
last day, you get a farewell pin, and they're special editions just for these excursions, for these Disney experiences. Um, and so I highly recommend this to anyone. So if you are thinking about cruising in Europe and you want to add a couple of days to experience the city more in depth, I definitely recommend it. They also have it in Paris. And my husband and I, there's an adults only one. We were talking about doing that ourselves. Unfortunately, I have a work thing, so I can't go during the adult only one. But if you all want to, it looks amazing. So dinner on the Eiffel Tower, and a river ride on the Seine. So it's just
wow.
just these are amazing experiences. So again, I was really excited to try it. And after you get back from Adventures by Disney, and they were actually offering a discount for Disney cruisers for a little bit, a promo that if you booked within 45 days of returning from your Disney cruise or from Adventures by Disney, you got up to a $500 off per person for your next Adventures by Disney.
Wow.
So we went ahead and booked our next one. So we're
Yeah.
so excited. We are going to do a river cruise next summer. Um,
Oh my
one and
gosh.
what convinced me was one of our guides was a DCL Oceaneer Club's cast member, alum. And so she graduated from DCL to Adventures by Disney. And she was telling
Wow.
us that they do all of the same activities. Like they break them out into the kids clubs and they do bingo. And because I was kind of, we're so used to Disney Cruise Line and the experiences that offer it. And so it was going out of our comfort zone was to do a river cruise, but she said, you guys will have a great experience.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be so amazing. I'm excited to hear how much you guys love that. I know it seems like it's far away now, but it'll be here before you know it. That is
Well, before you
awesome.
know.
It sounds like it is, well, you said it's worth every penny to do something like this. And, I think I know one of my big hangups to, not necessarily doing one of the European cruises, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but, when I'm going to Europe, I really want to experience the city that I'm in and get to know this place that I'm traveling to. And this just feels like the perfect way to do that, to really get in and experience the place rather than just stopping in for however many hours. So I love, love, love this. And I'm so
Yeah,
glad you guys had such a good time. I'm like, this sounds awesome. I want to meet Sherlock Holmes. What
I
more could you
know.
want?
It was so cool. And one thing that we found out was that with Adventures by Disney, they have special access to certain things that no other tour company has access to. So we entered into the Tower of London a full hour before it opened up to the public. And so we were walking around the Tower of London by ourselves. And so that's where the meet and greet with the beef eater took place. and she was one of six female ever. They're called yeomans, and she has spent 26 years in the military, and then she was selected to be part of the Royal Guard. She lives there in the Tower of London, so it's actually a working, literal tower, and so people live there year round. And then so after the tour, she then took us into the Crown Jewels with a private viewing of the Crown Jewels. So it was normally when you see on the Crown Jewels, you're on a like a conveyor belt and they just kind of move you
Yes.
around. So
Yeah.
we got to walk around and go and see them, and we heard the history behind each of the, whether it was the oil spoon or each of the crowns and the jewels and where these jewels came from. So it was amazing. And then when we got out, it was
What?
crowded. Like that was, and so we were like, oh my gosh. So we were so spoiled. And I found out that Disney is the only one that has that agreement to be able to get that early access in there. So it's amazing.
You gotta love Disney. That is so cool.
It
Yeah,
is
I mean,
super
where
cool.
else do you get to? I have gotten to go before, and I was on that conveyor belt, just scooting right on through.
Yeah.
Man, that is awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So
Well,
cool.
you've sold me on the escape. That sounds right up my alley. And it looks
Yeah.
like you guys had such a great time just getting to hang out from London. And how far is London from Southampton?
It's about 2 hours. And so transfers can be a little long and a little pricier, which is why I was glad it was included, because we ended up taking a taxi um, from my daughter wanted to go to Notting Hill, and I was like, okay, we'll go to Notting Hill. It ended up being like a $80 taxi. And so I was so
Ooh,
glad I didn't have to pay for transfers because it was included in the tour. But of course, Disney has transfers that we can book for you as well too. So you wouldn't be with a taxi service. But it's about 2 hours.
got it. Okay. So you can get transfers from London to Southampton. And I
Yes.
know we're going to get the question of where do you actually fly into? So do you have recommendations on airports?
Yep, most people will fly into London Heathrow. That's where we flew. We actually did round trip into London, into Heathrow, and then we took a puddle jumper from London to Barcelona the day before the cruise, and then and then of course the cruise back up. But it was easier for us to do round trip out of London.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so you can help with flights, you can help with transfers, and you can help with Adventures by Disney, and you can help with the cruise. So I know it seems like there's a lot of moving parts here, but Stacey can help with all of it. So reach out to
I
her, let her
can,
help.
I can. And I love
Oh,
it. And this is one of my new favorite picture is us outside of Buckingham Palace. And it looks like we're waving with the king and queen. And so that is so fun. Buckingham Palace is actually open during the summer. So if we do one of the summer cruises, we can talk about getting tickets into Buckingham Palace as well too.
oh my gosh, that would be awesome. And you definitely had me fooled. I would have thought that the king was just hanging out with you guys, just behind the family. And
Right,
it looks like these
exactly.
are these professional pictures here? Did you guys do a photo shoot or are these just
We
on your
did.
phone?
We did. So we did an actual photo shoot. And so that was fun. I had never done it before. But I was like, you know what? I don't know when we're going to be in London again. And so let's go ahead and do it. And it was so fun. This was actually the night we were supposed to do it, we did get rained out of. So we ended up doing it in the morning. So it was a little brighter than I wanted. So we were kind of squinty in some of our pictures. But again, the beautiful blue sky in the background. And of course, the photo in the phone booth is my favorite. So it's just such a cute photo.
That's such a fun thing to do. I know, of course, on the Disney cruises, you can get the photo package, but when you're in a new city, getting to take advantage, especially one as beautiful as London, getting to take advantage of that local scenery. I mean, you've got your holiday card made for you right there.
I know, exactly. And I can also help find I book photo shoots all the time for my clients. So that's
Ooh,
also something else that if you are interested in doing, I can get one scheduled for you.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about what else I guess what other options we have and pricing for them.
Yeah. So it's gonna be about the same price maybe a little less than Alaska. So it's actually not as expensive as many people think. So I found this great deal. I usually like to promote a good deal because I was so surprised that the ocean view is 56.73 for a family of four for a 7 night British Isles cruise from Southampton. September.
Amazing.
Yes, that's a great deal. And so you go to Glasgow, Edinburgh, Liverpool, Cork, and then into Stonehenge. Each of those cities is so cool and has a different kind of feel. I love Ireland, and I just love, and Cork is so cool. It's just Ireland is definitely a place. Like if you've never been to Ireland, they're the friendliest people ever. So I definitely recommend, this cruise because it just gets you to so many places you've heard of or read about in books.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And that is such a great deal. I can't believe that, especially for a 7 nighter. That's amazing. So if you were interested in this, reach out to Stacey. Let her help you plan this amazing cruise or any of the cruises. And we did have a couple more questions that came in. If I can steal you for a minute, somebody's asking, is there anything to do in Southampton if we wanted to stay there instead of in London?
There is, it's kind of a quieter town. And so there are not going to be like any major excursions, but if you are wanting to just kind of poke around in Southampton, there are some things to do. It's just most people, because also if you're flying in and out of London, you have to go back into London anyway. So that's what everyone I tend to book seems to want to do.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And somebody else was asking for hotel recommendations. It seems like it probably depends on where you stay, how many days in advance you want to be there.
Yeah, so I have some great places in Barcelona if you're doing the one that we did. Stayed at, I don't know, more maybe 4 or 5 different hotels in Barcelona. And then, of course, Disney has the hotels that they recommend. And that's especially important if you're interested in using Disney transfers. Barcelona, you don't really need Disney transfers because the Barcelona hotels are so close to the cruise port. With this one in particular, I would probably recommend that we consider staying at one of the Disney preferred hotels because it includes the Disney transfers. Just because of the distance and the time, I think I actually would probably recommend for most of my clients to go ahead and use DCL transfers. It's just, that long distance, it's kind of nice to know that, Disney is going to be taking care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, just not having that stress on your plate, reach out to Stacey. She can help coordinate all those pieces because I know, especially if this is your first Disney cruise, you're like, transfers, hotels, there's so many pieces to the puzzle. So let her help you with that. And someone else is asking Northern Europe versus Mediterranean. I can't decide which one to do. It sounds like they should probably reach out to
Yeah,
you and
call
talk through
me.
it, right?
Yeah. So I've done them both. So I can definitely help you kind of figure out like what does your family like? Do you like history? Do you like nature? Those are some of the questions I'll ask. And how old are your kids? And some of the Mediterranean excursions are long. They're long days, but they're also amazing. And some of the ones that my kids still talk about. In fact, this past summer, we were blessed enough to go to both Alaska and Europe. And so I asked the kids next summer, do you want to go to Alaska again? Because they really loved it. And they said, no, we want to go back to Europe. So I don't know. I've apparently raised these kids that love to go to Europe. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I can help you match the one that meets your needs.
I love that. Yeah, there's so many options and there's so many ways to customize your cruise specifically for your family and what you want to do on your vacation. And I mean, heck, even if it's adults only and it's just you and a couple of your friends, that's going to look a little bit different too. So reach out to Stacey, let her help you plan. It sounds like overall you would definitely recommend cruises from Southampton. It was an easy experience.
Yes, a super easy experience. I loved it. I mean, and the fact that you're there in London too and seeing my kids definitely said they want to come back to London. And my son is now still convinced he wants to live in London. So going there didn't deter him whatsoever. And
Oh,
so,
that's awesome.
yeah, so
Go, Nick, go.
I know he loves it. So yeah, I highly recommend a cruise out of Southampton. It was easy. The airport was easy to get into and out of. Customs was super easy. All of that. The whole process was really easy.
I love that. And I think that holds a lot of extra weight coming from the Florida girl who is close to the parks, close to the ports. You can drive to Fort Lauderdale or Orlando, and you're saying that Southampton was wonderful and easy. So that carries a big stamp of approval, everybody.
What I
But
struggle with is packing because, in Florida, like we just throw everything in as many suitcases as we want. So anyway, so trying to get it into something that we can, each have one suitcase is for the Johnsons is very hard.
yes, no, you are speaking to my soul. Even for a 3-day cruise, I'm like, do I bring the big suitcase or the extra big suitcase? How
Right,
many pairs of
right.
shoes am I going to need? Oh, well, if you have any questions, I'm cruising in Europe, cruising anywhere around the world, reach out to Stacey. She is here to help. Her planning services, like we said before, they're totally free for you to use. So let her be that resource in your planning. She can help with all of the logistics so that you can focus on just having a good time. Reach out to her. That's the link to her page on the DCL community site. She is here to help. And Stacey, thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. And we will see all y'all on board real soon. Bye,
All
guys.
right. Great. Thank you. Bye.